I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which this episode is being recorded and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Welcome to Can I Get a Refill? The podcast that offers a nurturing and inspirational space for honest and open discussions around career aspirations, wealth creation, motherhood, healthy relationships with others and the self, as well as an emphasis on physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Join us for lighthearted, authentic chats with like-minded women, as well as more in-depth discussions with industry professionals to support your ambitions and heal old wounds, as we empower you to regularly fill up your own cup. I'm your host, Steph Bruno-Newton, singer, writer, podcast host, mum, and recovering people pleaser. Thank you for pressing play today, and now let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome back to the Can I Get a Refill podcast. This is our first of 2025, so Happy New Year, my friends. I hope you had a beautiful Christmas and a little bit of a rest. It was a very special Christmas in our household because it was Leo's first Christmas and it was really beautiful, really special. I loved Christmas morning. We gave ourselves a little bit of a sleep in, and when he woke up and we did all the presents and he had no idea what was happening, it was very cute and very sweet and he looked really excited about it. But I don't know about you, but I tend to like the build-up of Christmas a bit more than actual Christmas because it's just so overwhelming, so much driving around from house to house. So it was lots of fun, but it was a lot. So I really love this time of year. When I was a kid, I always preferred Christmas and not so much New Year, but I love the fresh energy of New Year. I love goal setting. I love planning. If you were the kid like me who loved going and getting their new contact paper and their glitter gel pens and organising their stationery for the year, you probably like New Year's as well. It's nice to set the intentions, do some goal setting, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But to preface, before I get into that, if you listened to the last episode on Lessons and Blessings of 2024, I talked about how I never saw anything at the movies that I thought was really, really great. That was just before I saw Wicked, so I completely take that back. Wicked was phenomenal. I'm waiting for my friend to get back from holidays so I can go watch it a second time. Who knew Ariana Grande was that funny? Thought she was brilliant. Okay, so what we're talking about today is goal setting and healthy habits for a successful 2025. If you hear any noise in the background, that will be Leo because Daddy's having a very well-earned golf day today. The number one thing I like to do is to do an audit of the previous year. So do an audit of 2024, what worked for you, what didn't work. If you wrote your goals for last year, go through, see what you achieved, what you didn't. Maybe you put a little too much on there that was, putting a bit too much pressure on yourself. And it's always okay to pivot. I'm always saying it's always okay to change your mind. What worked for you at one stage of your life won't always work. So see what worked, what didn't work, where you can change. Maybe it was you, maybe it was a mindset thing, maybe it was the people you were spending time with, maybe it was some health habits. So sit with it. Also, while you're doing that, do an audit of the key areas of your life, such as health and fitness, finances, career, and relationships. Do a little money audit. You should really know if you don't do this, you're never going to get on top of your finances. If you don't know exactly what's coming in and exactly what's going out, how can you be in control of your finances? So do an Excel spreadsheet if you have to. I am so old school. I sit with an A4 piece of paper, draw it into 4 squares, and I'll do like the next 4 pays, what's going out, what's coming in, what I'm putting into savings, what I'm putting into investments. So, and that's something I'm working on this year, investments, working more on investments. Very excited about that. Look at your health and fitness. So what's working for you with your health and fitness? What isn't? I always talk about eating whole food. So I am so not a calorie counter. I'm not going to do that. I did that for years. It's not something that I find enjoyable. Food should be enjoyable, but the fresher it is, the more home cooked it is, the less additives that are in it. I have better gut health. I feel well. My energy's better. Bloating reduces. So I'm really big on that. I don't put on my goals list or anything about doing, if you don't work out, this is something that might work for you. So I don't put on there, do strength training 3 times a week or work out 5-6 times a week. I just do that every week anyway, even through the holidays. I've been doing that for over a decade. So That's not something that I will put on my list, but if you have fitness goals that you're not achieving, throw that on your goals list this year and check in with yourself every month, every season, see how that's tracking. Career, have a look at the career you're in, have a look at the role you're in. Is this a year when you pivot and look for something different? Is this a year where you can ask your boss for a pay rise? Is this the year where you can go out on your own and work for yourself? So no better time and no better energy than your new year to look at that. Relationships, I harp on about this in nearly every episode. You really need to look at how you feel once you've been spending time with someone you're in a relationship with. Once you've spent time at your job, how are you feeling? So my number one thing when I say sit with it, silence, sit, do a meditation, look at your body when you think about things. So I was listening to someone on a podcast saying she loves her career because she knows she loves her career because if her boss calls, she doesn't get like a pit in her stomach like, oh, why are they calling? She feels excited. She doesn't get depression Sunday night. She feels excited to do her job. So I always said this. I had a sort of break up with friends when I turned 30. I would get nervous as I was driving in to have dinner with them. Your friends are your solace. As soon as that happened, I was like, this is not right. They weren't aligning with my values. Now, another thing I have to point out, it doesn't mean that they're wrong. It doesn't mean that the job's wrong. The person you're in the relationship is wrong. They might not be aligning with your values. You might not be aligning with their values. So if there is friction with something, it's not right. If you're nervous about something in like an excited way, that's great. That means you're pushing yourself. You're going for something different. If there's friction and you're left feeling like the Dementors from Harry Potter have come and sucked your soul out, that's not right. That's not aligning with your values. So that's where I think you need to sit with it, have a think about it, do a meditation and see how you really feel. Your body knows the answer to something. There's a little story that I think about. There was an ex-partner of mine. Wasn't the best seed in the world, but I kept trying to change him to be someone that I would describe as more faithful, more grown up, more mature. It was exhausting. When we broke up, I think he looked a little bit hurt because I looked so happy and so excited for a fresh start because I was done. I said, you're fine. Clearly all the partying and all the things that you do, you enjoy. So that's fine. That's just not what I want. So you're fine as you are. I'm not going to try and change you anymore. It's not making anyone happy. And I felt immense relief that I didn't have to try anymore. I didn't have to try and change someone. I didn't have to worry, was he cheating? It just felt like such a relief because nothing was aligning and everything was friction. And your body just knows. And when we broke up, I just felt an immense sense of relief. And a thought popped into my head the other day about control. You know how a lot of the times a lot of women I know might try and control certain areas of their life. Do you know why I truly think this is? I think because we've been in situations where we lacked control and we're trying to take that control back. So you might have grown up in a home where you didn't have much of a voice. You might have been in relationships where you had no voice. Therefore, you might be trying to take control back. But you know what? You can never control someone else or someone else's actions. You can only control what you do. So it is very, very freeing when you relinquish all control of things that are out of your control. That's my number one tip for you for 2025. Okay, next is to set an intention for 2025. What do you want to achieve? How do you want to show up? How do you want to feel? So a lot of the times you can put goals and things that you want to achieve, but you should also think about how you want to feel. How do you want to look? How do you want to show up? It's really important. And when you're doing visualization and manifesting, tapping into how you feel, how your future self looks, how your future self feels is really powerful for attracting that next level self. So really think about how you want to feel in situations. I tend to like to start the year with a word or a phrase of how I want to be, how I want to show up in that year. Previous years I've had authentic, which I really think I really, really did because I started to use my voice a lot. I think last year I had gentle. I got to double check what I wrote. And I really embodied that because that's when I was pregnant. That's when I was going into motherhood. So I didn't want to feel like I had to achieve a lot. That was me being gentle and being in my feminine. So I definitely achieved that. And as I said in the last episode, this year I'm picking a phrase and it's stepping into my power. And this is really the year where I really take a quantum leap and really up level and stop taking small steps. And whilst I've had a nice, steady, gradual increase of things improving in my life, now's the time. You know in your instinct, now is the time to leap. And now is the time for me to make big drastic changes to set up a financial future for myself so I can spend more time with Leo and possible future children. Okay, the next is my very favorite part. Write out 3 lists. Don't just write a goals list. Write a to-do list, a short-term goals list, and a long-term goals list. I think that goals lists should be very sexy and aspirational and have all like the things that you're really aspiring to on that list, like your big Europe trip, your forever home, your major career pivot. But you're going to need all those little things in between that you have to do to get to those stepping stones. They're unsexy. I put them on my to-do list. For instance, the short-term goals list should be the next 12 months. So make that your yearly list. The long-term goals, that's ongoing. That could take you 50 years. That could take you 10 years. That could take you 5 years. So don't put a time frame on it. Just put that on your long-term goals list if you know that's something that's not quite achievable in the next year. Because if you get to the end of the year, you haven't achieved those things, you can feel deflated. For the to-do list, it's the little things in between. For instance, I had to get on YouTube Shorts. I've ticked that off already. I did that yesterday, posted my first 2 videos on YouTube Shorts. I have to transfer all my articles over from my blog, The Barefoot Blogger, to Substack. So all the little things in between that you have to do your to-do list. Then your short-term goals, what you're doing in the next 12 months. So for me, it might be getting a certain amount of followers. It might be I need to get a website. So do the lists however you'd like. You can type them out. I'm a hand writer. I like to have them written out on beautiful pieces of paper. This is something that I got Alan into 2 years ago. He used to just always say, the goals, they're in my head. And I was like, no. You're not going to achieve anything if it's just in your head. There's something really gives you a dopamine hit if you're ticking them off as you achieve them. So he started 2 years ago. I would get a beautiful card, a little small piece of paper, and he would write them out. He keeps them on his little cigar box. Don't get me started on the cigars. And he loves referring back to it all the time. And when he ticks them off, he feels really, really motivated. And when he hasn't achieved them, he keeps looking at them. That's something that he's got to achieve. So that's something that the proof's in the pudding with him. It really, really worked for him. So, I have 3. The to-do list is the longest. So it's on an A4 piece of paper. But the goals list I put on a very pretty piece of paper. That leads me into the next point, create a vision board. So a lot of people do... I know this is, some people might think it's a bit woo-woo, vision board. There is something so powerful about having the images somewhere that you're seeing all the time for your body to create that map. So if it's looking at it, it's like a muscle memory thing. When you get to the goal, it just feels familiar because you've been looking at the vision on your vision board all the time. You can do your digital ones, and a lot of people have them on their phone background. I have so many images, there's no way it would fit into a phone background. So mine's on a big cardboard thing, and I've got to redo mine to be more appropriate for where I'm at this stage of life. So it's good to redo them once a year, I think, because your life changes all the time. Make it really beautiful. Put inspiring words on there, really inspiring, aspirational images, and put it somewhere where you can see all the time so that your brain's really absorbing it. Okay, the last few points are really, really, really important. So tap into your intuition, be guided by your inner voice. We have become so accustomed to outsourcing. We go to anybody to get their opinion, and that's great to go to professionals. You go to a doctor when you have your medical opinion, you need a medical opinion, but there's really something to be said about tapping into your intuition and seeing how you feel. For instance, do you remember the celery juice trend that was around a few years ago? I forget the doctor who came up with it, and a friend told me to try it. It worked really well for her. I have a sensitive stomach. I did this juice. I can show you photos on my phone. I looked 6 months pregnant. I was having stabbing pains in my gut. Now, celery is fine in my diet, but having God knows how many mils of celery juice I was having every single morning on an empty stomach absolutely stuffed my stomach. And I know for a lot of people, it works for them. It's meant to be great for your gut health, great for your skin. Absolutely did not work for me. What did I do? I kept pushing through and I kept taking it because I would see vloggers do it and other people, it's working for them. My body was screaming out saying, this is hurting me, stop it. And what did I do? Ignored my instinct because other people were saying it worked for them. Oh my God, how insulting to my body to just ignore what it was going through. There's really something to be said about just trusting your instinct, and I tried to do that a lot with parenting as well. Like, yeah, I'd go to the clinic appointments and take what they say on board, and it's been really helpful. But I have friends who have done more of an instinctual parenting style, and I really liked how they did it. So I didn't read much at all leading into it, nor through it. I just sort of went with my instinct, and if I had a question that I needed answered, I would ask people. So please tap into your intuition. Again, the best way to do this is sitting in silence and asking yourself some questions and asking your body how it feels and seeing how it feels. You know, when you're doing certain diets, if you're trying to figure out allergies or what isn't working for you, naturopaths and medical professionals will say, this is advice I really believe in. Keep a journal. So as you do each food, how do you feel? And write down how you feel. Couldn't agree with that more for every area of your life. Listen to your intuition, see how you feel, and adjust accordingly. The next is be your most authentic self. Okay, I have a really funny little story. In 97, in year 8, we had a camp in Canberra, and they told us that we'd be doing a bike ride around Lake Burley Griffin. I can't ride a bike. It's something that I used to be embarrassed about and I would never tell people. And now as an adult, I kind of like it because it's so weird. It makes me unique. I lost sleep for weeks and would go to my mum trying to concoct a story. I still to this day can't remember what story I came up with. I think it was a fake knee injury. And then the teachers were like, go sit on the bus. I got on the bus. Heaps of my friends were on the bus. My friend Jane, she was there with period pain. It was probably endometriosis when we look back now. Rachel Grove probably doesn't listen to this at all. She couldn't ride a bike either. And she's sitting there and she's like, no, can't ride a bike, can't do it. And I felt this immense, why didn't I do that? Why was my instinct to lie and to hide something about myself like it was embarrassing? I'll tell you why, because you're a teenager and your goal is to fit in. It's an instinctual thing. I was so impressed by her and how she just went, no, can't do it. From that day onwards, I really tried to incorporate that. I feel like George Costanza, my youth was like George Costanza in a Seinfeld episode where you're running around putting all this energy in to hiding something about yourself when you could have just been honest and said, no, can't do it. So, yeah, I feel no need to learn how to ride a bike at 41 years of age. If there is a situation where riding a bike will save my life, I'll consider it. But for now, I'm perfectly comfortable with being a little bit weird. So, but be your most authentic self in every situation. I said this in a previous podcast, I used to laugh along if I didn't get a joke, and now I'm just like, I don't get it. Can you explain it? It is so empowering. You're really taking your power back when you don't care what other people think of you. Be your most authentic self in all situations. If you don't like something, do the Kim Cattrall, remove yourself from the situation, or just be honest. There's something so refreshing when people are just honest if it's worded in a nice way. Watch your language. Minimize self-talk. Stop talking about your problems. This is really, really simple, but man, you don't even realize until you look back that how many times I'll be like, oh, my neck, like Alan will wake up and I'll be like, oh, my neck's aching today, I'm bloated. I'm saying the same lines over and over again. And then when there's a new season or the new year, I sort of take note of it and I really watch my language and I minimize that. So minimize the times you're maybe talking negatively about other people. So if there's something you don't like, maybe it's making them happy. Maybe you can just look the other way. But definitely about talking about your problems, stop. Just stop. If there's something that's not working, do something about it. Go see someone. Go get it fixed. But look, this doesn't go for serious illnesses and all that. But what I'm saying is talking about it incessantly does you no favors. In fact, it's bringing it to the forefront of your mind and it's only going to exacerbate the situation. So watch your language. And that goes with anything. I always talk about how you see a lot of things going around where people change wording of emails. Instead of saying, oh, I'm so sorry for the late reply, you say, thanks so much for your patience in awaiting my response. However, the caveat to that is that goes for situations where you didn't do anything wrong. So if I'm busy with work, that's not wrong that it took me a little time to reply to someone. If you're showing up 20 minutes late to your hairdresser appointment, you fucked up. Own it, apologize. So look at where your language and where you can adjust it. And finally, be gentle with yourself. We talk about this in nearly every episode. Life is nonlinear and rest is productive. Have your best intentions. Have your best intentions for being healthy, for minimizing alcohol, for doing your exercise. And if you're not feeling it that day, laying on the couch might be the very best thing for your body. So be really kind to yourself like you would to someone you just started dating and falling in love with, and say all the nice things to them. So be really gentle with yourself. I think that 2025 has some magical feelings in the air. I'm really excited for it. I'm excited for you. Jump in the comments on Instagram on any post that I do and let me know what your goals are for the year. Take really, really good care of yourselves. Stick around. We have a really exciting season where I'm interviewing a lot of powerhouse women talking about some inspirational careers that I really think you're going to love. Happy New Year, my friends. Make 2025 magical. And as always, do something to fill up your cup. There is no resource more valuable than time, and I thank you for spending your time with us today. Your voice is so important, and we would love to hear which topics you would like discussed in future episodes. Please reach out via Instagram at Can I Get a Refill Podcast or on our private Facebook group to let us know. If you enjoyed this or previous episodes, we would be so grateful if you could please subscribe, rate, and review to help our voices continue to be heard. Catch you in the next episode.